For years, I thought my problem was discipline. I thought I needed more motivation, more willpower, more hustle. But that wasn't it. The truth was, I had terrible systems. I wasn't lazy. I was running a program I didn't know I had written. I'd wake up, scroll my phone, get distracted, feel behind, then shame myself for not being more productive. But here's what I learned. Your brain doesn't give a damn if a habit is good or bad. It only cares if it's efficient. And once a habit is burned in deep enough, it runs on autopilot. If you've ever wondered why breaking a bad habit feels quite frankly impossible, or why good habits seem to disappear the second life gets hard, this episode is for you. Welcome back to Hard Truths, the show where we break through the noise, challenge the way you think, and talk about the things that are really holding you back. In today's episode, we're digging into the real science behind habit formation and habit breaking. Because if you want to change your life, you don't need more discipline. You simply need a better system. Let's talk about it. Let's start with the brain. Because if we don't understand how habits work, you'll keep blaming yourself for not being disciplined enough. Here's the truth. Your brain is wired for one thing: efficiency. See, its job is to automate as much as possible so it can free up energy for more important survival tasks. And that's where habits come in. Habits live in the basal ganglia, a primitive part of the brain that controls routine behaviors and motor skills. Once something becomes habitual, it moves out of your conscious thinking and into automatic execution. This means the brain is actually trying to help you by offloading anything repetitive so you don't waste mental energy thinking about it. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't overanalyze it. You simply just do it. That's the power of a habit loop that's been repeated enough times. And the real magic here? It's not about willpower. It's about wiring. The more often you repeat a behavior, the stronger the neural connections become. Neurons that fire together, wire together. That's how the brain decides what to automate. That's why repetitive matters. Not intensity, not motivation, just consistency. See, repetition plus reward equals reinforcement. Over time, your brain doesn't just remember what you do. It remembers what you expect to feel when you do it. That's how cue, routine, then reward becomes the default loop. And habits aren't just physical, they're emotional too. A certain tone of voice might trigger a defensive reaction. A time of day might promote the urge to snack or scroll. These emotional reflexes get wired into the same neural architecture. That's why breaking habits is so damn hard. You're not just removing an action. You're trying to override a deeply embedded neural circuit. You're asking your brain to abandon efficiency and relearn discomfort. It's possible, but it takes time, intention, and structure. And if you don't replace that old habit with a better system, your brain will default to the path of least resistance every time. So if you keep falling back into the same habits, even when you know better, it's not because you're weak. It's because your system is still optimized for what's familiar. And that's what we're going to change deliberately, strategically, and scientifically. So now that you know why habits exist, let's break down how they operate, step by step, because every habit, whether good or bad, follows the same structure. So you have to think about this. Cue leads to routine, which leads to reward. This is what's known as the habit loop, a concept popularized by Charles Duhigg in The Power of the Habit and reinforced by behavioral researchers like B.J. Fogg and James Clear. So let's walk through it. Cue. What does cue mean? This is the trigger. It could be a time of day, a feeling, a place, or even another habit. Your brain sees the cue and shifts into autopilot. Then you have routine. This is the behavior itself, the action you take without thinking, whether that's biting your nails, opening social media, or going for a walk. Then we come to reward. This is the payoff. It's how your brain learns to keep the loop going. It might be dopamine from novelty, relief from discomfort, or even just a feeling of familiarity. Here's the key insight. Your brain doesn't crave the habit. It craves the reward it associates with that habit. So if you want to break a habit, you don't eliminate the loop. You recode it. You keep the cue, replace the routine, and keep the reward. Here's an example of what that might look like. Your cue might be feeling stressed. Your old routine, scroll mindlessly. How about this? Your new routine, step outside and take 10 deep breaths. And here's your reward. You get relief, clarity, and your nervous system resets. See? You change the routine, but you keep the cue and the reward the same. That's how habits are broken and rebuilt. Not through force, but through replacement. So when you want to build a new habit, reverse engineer it. First, create a cue. Stack it onto something you already do. Second, make the routine easy and obvious. And third, build in a reward, internal or external, to anchor the loop. This is the structure that runs your life. And once you see it, you can start to rewrite it. Understanding the habit loop is one thing, but actually making a new habit stick? That's the part where most people get stuck. Let me tell you what I learned the hard way. Change doesn't come from doing something once or twice. It comes from doing it long enough that your brain starts doing it for you. And the science backs it up. Research from University of London found that on average, it takes about 66 days for a new habit to become automatic, not 21 like the myth suggests. And depending on the behavior and the person, that number can be much higher. That's why I stopped focusing on intensity and started focusing on identity. James Clear says in Atomic Habits, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. So when I wanted to become someone who writes daily, I didn't start with 5 pages. I started with 1 sentence. It didn't really rely on motivation. I relied on a system that made starting so easy, it felt ridiculous not to do it. Here's what that system looked like. First, shrink the starting point. Make the behavior so small that it doesn't trigger resistance. Want to journal? Start with 1 line. Want to work out? Commit to 2 push-ups. Your brain builds trust through repetition, not performance. Number 2, anchor the habit. Attach the new habit to an existing routine. This is called habit stacking. For example, after I make coffee, I open my journal. Or after I brush my teeth, I stretch for 2 minutes. The stronger the anchor, the more reliable the habit. Number 3, celebrate the wins. Yes, seriously. Celebration fires dopamine, and dopamine tells your brain this was worth doing. That's how reinforcement works. A fist pump, a smile, a mental heck yes. It all matters. And number 4, track the streak. Use a calendar, a habit tracker, a sticky note. Let the visual momentum build. We are biologically wired to protect progress. Even if it's symbolic, it keeps you engaged. This is how change becomes sustainable. Not by overhauling your life overnight, but by aligning your brain with tiny wins that compound over time. Breaking a habit isn't about stopping cold turkey. It's about dismantling the system that supports it and replacing it with one that aligns with who you want to become. For me, it started with procrastination. I'd reach for my phone the second I felt overwhelmed, and I told myself I just needed to focus more. But what I really needed was to understand why I was reaching for that distraction in the first place, and what I could do instead. Here's what helped me both break bad habits and build better ones. First, identify the trigger. Track when the habit shows up. What's the cue? A certain time of day? A feeling? A specific environment? See, most bad habits are emotional escapes. Think stress, boredom, frustration. The moment you get clear on the cue, you give yourself a shot at real change. Second, replace the routine. Don't just try to stop the behavior, swap it. Replace scrolling with deep breaths. Replace snacking with movement. Your brain still wants the reward. It just needs a new pathway to get there. Think, instead of drinking a soda after work to quote unquote unwind, I started playing instrumental music while stretching for 5 minutes. The effect was similar, relief. But now I wasn't just hijacking my energy levels. Third, shrink the friction. Make the good habit stupid easy to start. Think about one push-up, one sentence, 1 minute. The smaller the habit, the easier it is to build momentum and override the old one. Think about brushing your teeth. No resistance, because the friction is gone. Your goal is to make your new habit feel just as frictionless. Fourth, track the streak and treat it like data. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for pattern recognition. Track what works, what doesn't. Use reflection as a tool for adaptation, not shame. See, I used a basic habit tracker app, and I started seeing my energy spike and crash at times. It gave me insight when I was most vulnerable to bad habits. Fifth, lean into connection. Accountability accelerates consistency. Whether it's a habit buddy, a group chat, or public tracking, connection helps solidify change. Shame thrives in silence. Growth thrives in visibility. Just telling someone, I'm trying to stop X, changes your commitment level instantly. See, lasting change isn't built in a weekend. It's earned through daily systems, honest feedback, and the willingness to keep going when it gets boring, awkward, or hard. Mastery isn't perfection. It's persistence with a plan. So here's the truth. Your life is built on autopilot. Whether you know it or not, the system's running in your background. The habits you've repeated enough to stop questioning are shaping your outcomes, your identity, and your future. If you want a different life, you don't need a new personality. You need a new pattern. Here's what I want you to do this week. Pick one habit, just one, and break it down. What's the cue? What's the routine? What's the reward? Then build a version of it that serves you. Start tiny. Make it laughably tiny, laughably easy. Stack it onto something you already do. And when you mess up, don't start over. Just keep going. Because the point isn't perfection. The point is that you no longer are on autopilot. You're designing the system. Tag me at Danny11. That's DANNYLYVIN. And let me know what habit you're rewiring this week. This is Hard Truths. And today's truth? You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. See you in the next one. Take care.